Son and welcome to Rauta's Norwegian black metal review. This time it's a band Flukt, which is here with the second album Omen of Darkness. Now, some people might remember that a few years ago I reviewed the band's debut LP, Darkness Devour, which was indeed a good album. For some reason or another, some people started making statements like this is a Christian band and all that stuff. And now the band recently contacted me if I wanted to review this, and I was asking, so was this a Christian black metal band? And they were like, no, we're not Christian. So I don't know where these accusations or comments came from, but at least the band denies them. So take it as you will. But anyway, Flukt is here with Omen of Darkness, and at least so far nothing has indicated this one or the previous one to be exactly Christian band. So let's hopefully get those rumors removed, unless there is a new set of proof, evidence, what you will. This one comes in CD format, as you can see, and it comes without lyrics. Don't know why. That is always a peculiar question when we're talking about black metal. Music style very much defined by ideological takes and points. But sometimes bands want to remain more mysterious, and maybe that's the case with Flukt as well. Now, this is more like new wave of Norwegian black metal when it comes to the age of the band. I mean, since 2014 the band was founded. It's not exactly a new band to the flock anymore, but not exactly very old as well. That is, when you're comparing to the bands that started already in 1990s or early 2000s. 2014 still seems like, yeah, it's quite new to the block. But this band has been active ever since. A couple of EPs, of course some singles, and then 2 full albums now. 4 years since the previous one, which was indeed a good album, and as such it sparked my interest towards the band, towards the release once again. Omen of Darkness is pretty much like going back to 90s. It feels like the 90s never left, but this is one of those albums that could have been out there already, like, I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s at max. Because a lot of these riffs, a lot of the mood here is represented by the overall feeling that is like, let's take 90s back here. But this is not just a retro release, because I think this is very much more like what we would say timeless release. That is, while a lot of these riffs are something like tapping to the very roots of Norwegian 1990s black metal, flirting with this and that idea, noting that this and that band. Overall, I would say this is nicely executed of an album, which really is like going back to whatever happened in the 90s in Norway. Well, now comes the challenge, of course. How are you going to make an album that is able to challenge all those classics or make even better one? Well, unfortunately for people who are expecting me to comment that otherwise, but Omen of Darkness is not exactly better than most of the classics. I guess that's kind of a given and guaranteed, but it also doesn't mean that this is a weaker, diluted version of what it would have been back in the days or nowadays. Actually, this is quite a good of an album. This really takes the benefit of sounding very much like 1990s. There are parts where like trying to figure out which band we're talking about when talking about individual riffs or even songs. Like, there might be a little bit Gorgorothian takes here or there, and there are parts where this is like, hey, this could be a cold thing, maybe even Toulouse. So a lot of mid-tempo stuff, which is somewhere between the rawness and super produced, overly bombastic albums, not to mention symphonic stuff. So remove symphonic stuff, remove atmospheric stuff, and you roughly have an idea what this is. This is nowhere near of bands like, say, Emperor, Dimmu Borgir, or what have you, nor the most primitive bands like, you know, Ilya and stuff. This is more like going the middle path, which is kind of a safe. I mean, it's not exactly raw, but you would still say, yeah, this is kind of a more grim kind of black metal than some of those more honed, polished, big orchestrated bands and all that stuff. So definitely more closer to a, say, Cold, Gorgoroth, Dusktone, what have you, than the more atmospheric or symphonic ones. But if there is a flaw that I need to name, is that towards the end this goes, it kind of loses the magic touch of the first few moments which is happening here. So this is more like a forward-leaning album in the sense like, in the beginning, it sounds like it's the best stuff is right there. And towards the end you start kind of losing. For example, this track number 6, Siste ut väl, it actually has kind of a filler material which is not in par with the stuff in the beginning of the album. It doesn't mean it's really like weak or anything like that, but mediocrity versus just good quality in the beginning of the album. And now comes the comparison in question. Does this pale in comparison, or does this beat the first album by Flukt? I would say the first album is a little bit better one. That is a solid 8 out of 10. This is a little less. So still a good album and able, in my opinion, to challenge a lot of those classic albums, even if that means that you need to take them out of context, like being veteran bands, pioneer ones, or whatever. So if you just listen to these albums like without the context of given age, time, era, whatever, well, this is actually able to challenge a lot of those albums that are considered as Norwegian classic black metal ones. But that being said, this is nowhere near the top peak albums. So good, but not great. That means definitely worth your time checking it out. This album was already released in the late October 2023, so it's been out a few weeks already. Give it a go if you like some classic Norwegian black metal without the necessary importance of originality and what have you. Now, this is not original by no means, but that doesn't mean this is not a good album. With these words, I hope you give it a go and let me know what you think about it. Thanks for your time and enjoy some Flukt. Bye bye.